Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Supercharge Your Business Practical AI with Microsoft Copilot. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to connect with us today. My name is Kate Smith, and I'm the Vice President of Client Success here at IT Solutions. I'm joined today by our VP of Solution Team, Tyler Sanders, and we're excited to discuss how Microsoft 365 Copilot can supercharge your organization. More specifically, we're going to share with you how you can leverage and effectively adopt AI in a way that enhances productivity without compromising on data privacy or security. Thanks to our existing partnerships with Microsoft and dedicated clients like you, we're able to guide you through this evolution. Now, before we dive in, I do want to cover just a few housekeeping items. All of our attendees are in listen-only mode today to avoid any feedback or bandwidth issues. The webinar is being recorded and will be made available to all of our registered attendees, so please look for that recording in your inbox in the coming days. We absolutely love questions, so please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom window, and we will be happy to field all of those questions at the conclusion of today's session. So AI is really reshaping organizations, professional organizations in the way that we work. And Microsoft Copilot is leading the charge. And today we're here to discuss how Copilot integrates directly into Microsoft 365 tools like Word and Outlook, Teams and Excel to streamline everyday tasks, to empower staff to accomplish more, and to enhance customer service. We'll also explore real use case scenarios tailored to professional organizations. We'll break down cybersecurity and compliance essentials and show you how to get started with a successful Copilot rollout. Whether you're leading any type of organization or managing the operations day to day, or just supporting your company's technology environment, this session will equip you with practical knowledge to make your organization smarter, faster, and future ready. So let's start with, why are we here talking about AI? And more specifically, why are we talking about Copilot? We've been seeing a massive surge in interest around AI across organizations of all types and sizes. In fact, Microsoft found that over 90% of business leaders have used AI tools. But this adoption by employees at large often happens in a fragmented manner. Sometimes employees are using different public AI tools that aren't governed and which can really put an organization's data at risk. Some businesses have even banned AI use due to these concerns, and that's really where we come in. As your trusted IT partner, it's our duty to help you understand and how to adopt and use AI securely, so your team can leverage this tool with confidence and to capitalize on the benefits. Before we talk about Copilot, I do want to cover the basics of what's powering AI tools like Copilot. Large language models, or LLMs. These models are really trained on vast amounts of text that understand and generate human-like language. A common type of LLM is called GPT, which stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. That's just a technical way of saying it can predict and generate natural-sounding language by understanding content. Some well-known tools that fall under this category include Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, and Google Gemini. Each of these tools is powered by LLMs behind the scenes, but it's how they're used and how safe they are really depends heavily on how they're been deployed. When organizations first start exploring AI assistance specifically, employees often think of ChatGPT, which is powerful, but also it's disconnected from any of our business processes and security policies. This is one of the many reasons we're recommending Microsoft Copilot, otherwise known as Microsoft's AI assistant for work. As we just discussed, Copilot is an LLM and is directly embedded into the tools you already use: Word, Outlook, Teams, and more. It will help your organization get more done by summarizing information, generating content, automating repetitive tasks, and so much more. It's all baked in and all within the security of your M365 environment. What's also great is that it's not necessarily a new platform to learn. It's already leveraging the tools and applications that many of us are using and familiar with today. Moreover, AI isn't just a trend or a buzzword. We're here today because it's a competitive differentiator and a true advantage. Organizations that adopt AI thoughtfully are seeing improved efficiency, faster decision making, and empowered teams that can accomplish more. Copilot provides the best of both worlds. It drives creativity and productivity while adhering to your existing policies and uses Microsoft enterprise grade security. So let's dig into the security piece a bit more. This is one of the biggest concerns around AI and often what our clients are asking about the most. Microsoft has built Copilot with enterprise grade safeguards from the ground up. And that means your data stays your data. It's not used to train public AI models, and your data is protected within your existing Microsoft 365 environment. Every interaction with Copilot honors your organization's compliance policies and security settings, including role-based access and information protection. But ensuring Copilot operates securely and effectively in your environment requires thoughtful preparation, like proper data discovery, identity configuration, and security hardening. We're going to dive into all of that in a moment, but please know that ITS, your strategic advisor, we're happy to discuss any of this with you after today's session or really at any time. For additional peace of mind, I do want to note Microsoft's customer copyright commitment does ensure that organizations are protected from claims when using their AI tools responsibly. So in short, this isn't consumer AI that we're talking about. It's secure, it's compliant, and it's designed for professional use at scale. So there are a couple different factors when we think about the licensing type as it relates to the AI integration. Microsoft 365 Copilot is an add-on available for Microsoft 365 for Business Suites. You have options, and the plan you choose determines the level of security and compliance controls available to your M365 environment and Copilot, protecting your data, your devices, and your applications. Microsoft 365 Business Basic and Business Standard, as shown on the left, provide foundational security controls, including MFA via security defaults to help safeguard your organization from identity-related attacks, things like password spray, replay, and phishing. They also include standard compliance controls, allowing users to search and export Copilot interactions, log user activities, and apply retention or deletion policies. Microsoft 365 Business Premium, as shown on the right, offers more comprehensive security controls, which includes everything in Business Basic and Standard, plus more. Conditional access with Entra ID builds on MFA and other areas to add more capabilities to search and exporting Copilot interactions. Business Premium also allows the use of manual sensitivity and retention labels for files and emails. Users can protect access to sensitive data in Copilot interactions with data loss prevention policies. This slide really provides a high-level overview of the controls, but there are additional add-on features and controls available within Office and Microsoft 365 for Copilot products.
And Kate, I think what's important to point out here too is the licensing here. This is really for the Microsoft 365 and email environments. So these aren't necessarily specific things for Copilot. These are best practices already to have for your 365 email environment, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, all of that. So when we talk about business basic and business premium, these are security features that you can also take advantage of with protection around your 365 environment. And that just also ties into Copilot.
Perfect. Tyler, thank you so much for adding in some of that additional context. Microsoft licensing is super tricky. It's
Yeah.
helpful for that with that additional context. We also want to mention, as we're continuing this conversation around security and control, it's important to understand the difference between using a free, unlicensed Copilot versus deploying a fully licensed Copilot solution. Unlicensed Copilot chat offers basic functionality, right? You can enter prompts, we can ask questions, you can even upload files, but it operates in isolation from your Microsoft 365 environment. This means the free version doesn't have access to your internal systems, communication history, or your organization's security policies. By contrast, the licensed Copilot is built to work inside your Microsoft environment. It's connected to a private, secure instance of the AI model that's integrated within your tenant. This really allows licensed employees to pull in relevant content from Outlook, Teams, and SharePoint, making Copilot smarter and more content aware without compromising on data integrity. That integration is what makes licensed Copilot both more powerful and more secure. It honors your Microsoft compliance settings, leverages existing identity and access policies, and stays entirely within your protected cloud ecosystem. So now I think we're going to, now that we've seen how Copilot can really support organizations in general, I'd like to turn it over to Tyler, who's going to walk us through the top challenges some of our clients and organizations are facing and how AI can help. Tyler?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Kate. And I think what's important to point out here is anytime you're going to implement a new technology or evaluating things, it's really understanding, what are the business challenges you're looking to overcome or what are the problems you're trying to solve. And we're going to speak later on in this session just about a three-phased approach to implementing Copilot. But a big part of that is really understanding, what is it that you're going to try to solve with Copilot, and then how do you start to put that into practicality and use within your organization. So some common uses, some great places to get started. When we look at business challenges, more and more we're seeing larger volumes of business data that you need to comb through, be able to understand, increases in customer expectations around turnaround times, your ability to go through data, be able to respond accurately, effectively to clients internally. All of this while maintaining, quality and efficiency within your organization, and then just keeping up with the evolving business landscape. So these are, pretty common areas of business challenges throughout many different organizations, vertical organizations. And then really it's now looking at, how this is applicable within your business perhaps, and then how Copilot can actually help and make you more efficient in many of these areas. So when we look at Copilot's use for market and competitor research, it's very good at being able to go out on the web or look internally if you have that licensed version through your 365 environment, and be able to compile and summarize data very effectively and very quickly. Data analysis and forecasting, that's one of the strengths definitely, is it's able to go through, analyze large volumes of data, work on forecasting based on data you provided, be able to do that within Excel spreadsheets. Even with platform integration and training, we've done a lot of internal training modules with the use of Copilot. You're able to feed it. Maybe it's a program that you have, a service offering that you is part of your portfolio of stuff that you deliver to your client base. Being able to feed that into Copilot and have it generate training for internal training use. A lot of different use cases around that. Reputation management, so being able to understand how you how your company's rating out on the web and stuff in terms of reputation, and being able to help with the marketing side of things and be able to make recommendations and augment different content out there. So a lot of different use cases across the board, but that is really part of our approach in working with you on this, is to understand where there's business challenges and how we can bring Copilot in to assist in those areas. So on that note, we're going to move into some specific use cases. We'll start off with some pretty rudimentary Copilot use cases that are a great way to get started, and then we'll get a little more sophisticated use cases from there.
Great.
Mel, I think was there a slide before that on? Oh no, sorry, my bad. Yeah. It's the next one. That's the video. So this is a case study. So Microsoft is always publishing different use cases or different success stories and people that have adopted Copilot. And we're going to also send you a link on where there's great resources on the Microsoft site so that you can get examples of, based on role, function, your industry, how Copilot has helped in these different verticals or different business functions. In this specific example, there's this company, AIA Group. It's a life insurance provider. They needed to improve customer service efficiency, strengthen relationships across its 18 markets. Manual case documentation and scattered data made it difficult for representatives to respond quickly and consistently. So the solution Microsoft worked with them on was integrating 365 Copilot into Dynamics 365 customer service. AIA automated case and chat summaries, giving service teams instant access to key customer details and suggested responses. The impact from that implementation was that their reporting Copilot has reduced case wrap-up time by nearly 50%, increased the efficiency, allowed representatives to focus more on more meaningful customer interactions, ultimately improving customer satisfaction, service quality across the different regions. And this was really Microsoft 365, Copilot, and Dynamics that were the three solutions used to get these efficiencies and gains.
I love it. I love a use case, Tyler, where it is we can see the business use case, but it also has a really strong use case for client impact. I think that that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in one of the earlier slides there too, is we know our clients are expecting faster response times and higher
Mhm.
level of service quality. So in order to be able to do that, we need to be able to go through a lot of information very quickly, and we need to
Yes.
respond to things very quickly. So that's where Copilot, can start to help summarize through emails, meetings, and be able to compile responses that you can use to help, generate email responses, even meeting notes and stuff. But we'll get into some of those use cases here.
Imagine you have an appointment that conflicts with your weekly business review. What if you could do both? With Copilot, you can opt to follow a meeting. After the meeting ends, Copilot will summarize what you missed. You'll get a notification in Teams when the recap is ready. This recap will highlight content that was shared, summarized notes, and any action items for you or others whose names were mentioned. You see that one of your customers was discussed, and you want to learn more. You can ask Copilot clarifying questions, and it provides a detailed response. It can tell you why a certain decision was made, and gives you helpful context. You can even ask Copilot what other solutions were considered, and it provides citations from the transcript so you can see where Copilot drew these conclusions. It's a huge time saver.
Yeah, that's a great example there, and a great place to get started. I think that's really one of the first use cases we had at ITS in rolling Copilot out. So in that example, they talk about, if you're not able to attend a meeting, but it's just as valuable as if you are able to attend that meeting. And we start to, in our meetings, talk and discuss points in a way as if somebody's taking meeting minutes and going to send out the summary. So we're very deliberate during our meetings to talk about, next steps, who's responsible for those next steps, what are the dates that we're going to do that, what are the action items and all those things, because then Microsoft Copilot will send out that meeting recap and it's very clear on, what was discussed, what the outcomes are, and you can even start to build workflows into it where it assigns to-dos to people. It sets up future calendar invites based on the outcome from those meetings, email drafts. So as you start to dive more and more into using Copilot, you'll see the ways that you can expand that out. But again, just as a great starting point, being able to summarize and transcribe meetings and point out next steps is an easy one. Yep. In this example, and you'll notice also if you can actually see some of the font in the screen, there's a little button up in the top right that says summarize. So Kate spoke about it in one of the earlier slides that Copilot becomes embedded throughout all of your Microsoft Office products so that you can interact with it very easily. A little different than, if you're ChatGPT and stuff where you're always having to work outside the application. So what you're seeing in this workflow here is somebody's clicked to summarize an email thread. This is a very common problem that we all probably face, where all of a sudden you get put into a long historical email thread. You're added in. It maybe has gone on for a couple of weeks. You have no idea what the background is, and don't have time necessarily to read through the 50 back and forth correspondence on it. So this will do a quick summary on it, tell you, all the highlights from what's gone on in this correspondence. And then from that, you're actually able to use Copilot to generate a draft response. You can select what tone you want the response to be like. You can obviously edit it. You can regenerate it over and over so you can continue to interact with it, give it different prompts about things that you want to change in your response until you get it to a point where you're comfortable with it or you want to discard it and write it from scratch. I use this all the time to just at least stage up a few points in an email, and then I'll write my own text around it and kind of just embed it in. So kind of a combination of the two, but really powerful way to get things drafted, especially if you're trying to start from ground zero on writing an email or writing a document or even a procedure or something. Get Copilot to build up that template, and then it's so much easier when you have that in place to either continue to work with Copilot, prompting it on what you'd like to change, what you'd like to add. You can start to feed it more documents that you want to have its intake into the responses, or more emails or more information. But that way, it's a really good starting place, and then just put a final set of eyes on it to make sure the response or what it's drafted is accurate and how you want to represent things.
That's great. Really great. Thank you, Tyler.
Here now we're getting into a little bit more complex scenario, and this is where you can start stringing multiple use cases together with Copilot. When you get even more advanced use of it, you can build Copilot agents, and agents are almost like a macro or a program that will string a series of prompts and actions together. But in this example, what we're doing, or what's being shown, is it's responding to a customer complaint. So, and how Copilot can be leveraged to respond to a customer complaint. So through Copilot chat, we can prompt it to review some customer history, so that Copilot will summarize email threads, customer meetings, other previous interactions, and you're doing all that through the Copilot chat. Then you move on to accelerate issue diagnosis. So you're asking Copilot to gather product information from internal and external sources, historical resolution to aid in the diagnosis of it. Now moving into the Copilot agent within Teams, you can use that to create an agenda outlining the issue prior to the next meeting. So you're asking Copilot to send next steps for the accountability around that. Next, moving into the Copilot for Outlook, you can have it draft an email summarizing the interaction and document how the issue can be mitigated for other customers, and have Copilot send out that email. And also have Copilot in Teams take phone notes from phone calls. So if you have Teams telephony Copilot can also transcribe, record and transcribe phone calls, and be able to pull out information as if it was an email, pull out the customer sentiment, for example, or even issues that were discussed in that call, and be able to summarize those things. Okay, so in this example, it's preparing to lead a town hall. So with Copilot chats, the first step, gathering key points. So quickly catch up on the latest issues and wins by prompting Copilot to summarize email threads and chat conversations. So it's pulling all of this information so that you have these items to discuss in the town hall. Next stage, rallying the team. So meeting with the executive team to review key talking points. Copilot can recap the meeting and note take feedback from the other team. Move into creating a presentation. So interacting with Copilot chat here, you can create the presentation based on key points and executive feedback. Copilot will create a slide deck outline, then convert that into a PowerPoint file. I use this all the time also. This is a great feature. Feed it in even a Word document. So I'm not great with PowerPoint, and it takes me a lot of time to even get a mediocre presentation together. So I'll put it all together in a Word document first, feed that into Copilot and say, turn this into a presentation and use our ITS letterhead, or our templates rather, and be able to create that presentation. So it does a really good job of being able to do that. Can have it write a talking track. So Copilot can draft a talk track, incorporate it into specific nuances such as tone to ensure your message resonates with employees. So that's the Microsoft Word piece. And then review previous town halls. So maybe you want to review last quarter's address by prompting Copilot to summarize the meeting and highlighting the metrics that were presented to ensure consistency. If there were specific, deliverables promised in the previous town hall, or updates that were pending, more time between that previous town hall and the next one, it should be able to pull all of those together and remind you of what are those items that should be discussed. So just a great way to be able to, pull together information, help it, develop some PowerPoints, develop some talking tracks, be able to send out emails and prepare better for that town hall meeting.
Tyler, that is so fantastic. The use cases are really helpful in getting the conversation started. AI, I think, is a relatively new use in business, and we're all figuring out, where do we start? How can we leverage this tool, to deliver a better service or product to our customers? I also really love that you talked about Copilot in enhancing what someone is already currently doing to make the outcome better. We're not talking about replacing folks with AI, which I think is a really good message, and I really
It's just a
appreciate.
huge concern. One of the first questions we
Yes.
get asked, right? Like, oh, we need to keep it a secret that we're deploying
Oh.
Copilot because everyone thinks they're going to lose their job because of it. And I don't think we've worked with one organization that was doing this to reduce headcount. It was being
Mm-mm.
able to, the things we discuss, make them more efficient,
Yep.
be able to, make the response time faster to clients, or internal communication, having to just spend less time going through things that Copilot are really good at.
Absolutely. So everyone's dying to know, how do we get started? Can you talk to us about, what is the process, the Copilot readiness program? How do we get started?
Yep. And this is really important because a lot of people are tempted to just say, let's license Copilot, let's just get it up and running and start using it, and we'll figure it out from there. But the proper preparation and planning is really important, largely from a security and data protection perspective.
Mhm.
So what we do is we start with the discovery and readiness stage. And this is a few different major milestones we want to accomplish from this. We want to understand, what does your Microsoft 365 environment and even your other business applications and workflows, what do they look like? Where is data stored? How much are you using SharePoint, OneDrive, Microsoft Teams? Do you have integration into programs like Dynamics? Is that part of that ecosystem? Uh, and then also being able to understand, going back to what are some of the business challenges you would like to solve by deploying Copilot, putting together a group of key stakeholders and executive sponsors to back
Mhm.
this, maybe who's going to be the pilot group in all of this. And at the same time, really analyzing and understanding your data sets, because that's what we're going to, the outcome from the discovery and readiness is really, what is it that we want Copilot to be able to accomplish when it's implemented? And then what are the areas of security and data protection that need to be implemented to make sure you're protected both from the outside world and from the inside world? So the outcome from the discovery and readiness moves us into the security and data protection stage, and that's where we're going to harden the 365 environment to make sure that the Copilot, all of the access and stuff is protected there. But what's a really important piece of all of this is the internal data protection, because Copilot is very powerful at being able to search many different repositories of data, and you want to make sure you have the right data classifications in place so that people aren't able to query things they shouldn't have access to, that you're not aware they may have access to, and they may not be aware they have access to until they start going through Copilot and saying, what does the CEO of our organization make, or what does my coworker make, or show me what this client pays every month, or whatever data may be available in the environments that they have access to, that we need to make sure we have the proper classification. So phase two is largely around all the security and data protection. And then phase three is the adoption and empowerment, and that's where we want to start to roll this out to whether it's the stakeholders that are part of the initial rollout, bigger portion of the organization, and then be able to start to deploy the use cases and start to empower people to be able to use it effectively. So I spoke a lot about the discovery and readiness. I think, really the key is this is the blueprint for how we're going to proceed with the other phases. This is where we want to, really understand, again, the business challenges. We're looking in the background, understanding, all the security that needs to be implemented before we go live with it, putting together all of the results that we want to see from the implementation, and then moving into the security and data protection phase.
I mean, Tyler, you said it a moment ago. Could you imagine if we didn't take a moment to properly discover and prepare and we inadvertently exposed payroll data? I mean, that cannot happen. So the importance of a controlled discovery and readiness phase is absolutely critical.
Yeah, and we've seen it happen. We've seen companies that have come to us and said, help, what, we deployed Copilot and licensed it, and it's exposed a lot of information we didn't want to have it exposed. And then we come in and
Yeah.
put data classifications on it. You can kind of think of it like a file share on a file server, and how you would always want to make sure you had the right permissions on a HR folder, payroll folder, partners folder, whatever, executive folder. And the problem that's happens in many organizations, just inherently through the use of Teams and SharePoint and stuff, is it's collecting a lot of information, and it's people haven't taken the time to classify it properly. So it's all available. People don't even realize it's in the back end, because Teams stores a lot of information in SharePoint. So these documents and things that are getting shared in Teams are also getting put into this back end SharePoint database. So that becomes you can query that and find it in Copilot, and need to make sure that protection's there.
So once we have that foundational piece, tell me a little bit about the security and data protection in phase two.
Yeah, so this is the kind of two different approaches to securing the environment. The external security protection, Kate, you did a great job of outlining business premium and the advantages of business premium for securing the 365 environment. So a lot of what we do in this phase two stage is best practice hygiene for your 365 environment. So while we're looking at it under the lens of how to secure your Copilot environment, we're also, inadvertently securing more of the 365 environment. So we want to know, that all of the exterior is protected from external access, And then, of course, moving into the internal data classifications and making sure that we're properly categorizing all of your internal data so that there's not some sort of internal breach of information.
Awesome. So then really we move into phase 3, which I mean is always my personal favorite. This is where the deployment comes to life and we start to see the value of all of the efforts in phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 3 adoption and empowerment is all about empowering team members to use Copilot confidently and effectively, because even the best tool is wasted if no one uses it. And I think what's important to really call out that at ITS, we do go beyond just flipping the switch. We don't just turn on the license and, let our clients, cut loose using AI. We provide practical enablement. We want to show our clients and their teams how to use Copilot in their day-to-day workflows, and really share use cases, as Tyler just did, to offer simple training that sticks. We want to monitor the adoption and report on usage so we can help our clients avoid wasted spend on underutilized licenses or unplanned deployments. So we want to make sure that Copilot is really a productivity multiplier and not a line item that quietly gets ignored.
Yeah, one of the approaches, sorry, Mel, if you could just go back to that we like to take with this adoption and empowerment phase, and we did this internally at ITS, is deploying both a licensed version to a select group and also using the free version of Copilot, maybe throughout your entire organization, because the reality is probably a lot of the people, if not all of the people in your organization, are using some form of more than likely ChatGPT. And ChatGPT, the free version, is going to share that information that's fed. It makes it available on the web so other people can query it. You're also training that language model. So with the free version of Copilot, there is that data protection in there. So it's not going to share it. It's not going to train its own Copilot or its own Copilot algorithms and stuff. It is protecting it from the outside world. So it's sort of embracing the fact that people are going to be using this, want to be using it, and just making sure that you govern it and put the right policies and structure in place. And if they're going to use it, at least having them use a more secure version of it. We'll send out a link. I mentioned this earlier also, that Microsoft has a lot of information around Copilot and use cases for it. So there's line of business so that you can look at your specific vertical or your industry and understand how maybe your competitors or people in the industry are already using it. Roles and leaders. So, how does an HR person benefit from this? Marketing, sales, all the different role functions and stuff. So it will give you workflows there too on things you can try and start to expand the use of it from.
Awesome. So, I want to part on, why IT solutions as a preferred partner for Copilot deployments. Again, we are not just flipping a switch with enabling the license. We're truly here to partner with you and to think thoughtfully about an AI deployment for your organization. Our strategic advisors and team are eager to support your Copilot adoption journey if you choose that path forward. And we're uniquely positioned to support that journey for you. As a Microsoft certified partner, we've done the legwork to test and operationalize Copilot. And our Copilot readiness program is designed to help organizations adopt it securely and effectively. We're here. We're excited to help you uncover what's next, and we'd love to continue the conversation with you and your team. So before we wrap today's session and move into some Q&As, I just want to zoom out for a moment. And to recap, Microsoft Copilot is transforming how work gets done for organizations across the world. But to unlock that potential, it takes more than a license. It takes planning, protection, and a team who is ready. Here are a few key takeaways from our session today. First, success with Microsoft starts long before you turn it on. You need a strong foundation, and knowing what data AI can access and who can see it, and whether the environment is actually ready are all critical. Rushing in without that visibility puts the organization potentially at risk in terms of compliance, confusion, or wasted spend. Second, our Copilot Readiness Program was built to help you avoid those pitfalls. From discovery and security to adoption and empowerment, we walk you through every step to ensure your rollout is secure, aligned to your goals, and delivers real business outcomes. And finally, even the most powerful tools won't make an impact if your people don't use them. And that's why end user enablement is a core part of this program. So don't just launch Copilot. Instead, let's realize its full value. Share, we have some upcoming events in potentially a city near you. Our clients are asking for more as a result of these webinars, and we want to bring some of our Copilot subject matter experts as well as some of our security experts into one place. We're hosting in-person events next week and through the month of November in these cities. If you'd like to attend an event, please reach out to your strategic advisor, and we'll be happy to reserve your spot at one of these exclusive events. We appreciate everyone's time today. And before we part, and while we still have Tyler with us this afternoon, I'd like to ask a few questions that we have as it relates to AI in today's presentation. So Tyler, if you would field this question, who should be involved in a Copilot implementation and the decisions around that implementation?
Yeah, and it's a good question, and it's important to get this right because you want to make sure that you have the right stakeholders that are going to drive this internally at your organization. So it's both, usually executive sponsorship, and if you have a tech committee involving the tech committee in that. And this is really where, we work collaboratively on putting together the roadmap for it. Who are going to be some of the key users that start with the licensed version? Do we roll out the free version to everybody? And if we do, then what is it that, that they should be using it for? What shouldn't they be using it for? Maybe some safeguards around that just from a policy and procedural perspective. So you may want to have people from the organization who are involved with the policies and structure within the governance of how people use computer systems involved in that. And then ideally, the first people to use the licensed versions are the ones that should probably have the access to all data in the environment, just to make sure that we've gone through, tested all the areas, all the possible queries of where you could pull data from and stuff. And if they see something that others shouldn't, at least they're the ones seeing it because they already have access to that. So, and then really, a lot of organizations come with the idea of who is going to get the most value from this? Where are we going to help the most? Maybe it's somebody that's a one person in that department and they're just badly overloaded, or there's just some obvious areas that you can gain efficiencies from. And then that's really what we want to target as the people that are going to perhaps use the licensed version. And we just expand it out from there. It's the more you use it, the more you find use cases for it. And that's why we suggest getting that free version out to, ideally everybody in the organization, because you may want to also put, as part of this, the committee receive requests for, if somebody wants a licensed version, what is it that they need to, to justify in order to get that licensed version. So by using the free one, they could say, hey, if I had the license, it would be really helpful because I'm in, creating PowerPoints all the time, and having that integration would be really important. So, it starts off with a smaller group and then expand it out. So if you don't want to license everybody, if that's not the end goal, being able to have a good, justification for licensing users.
Oh, awesome, Tyler. Thank you. So that was a little bit of the who should be involved, really, and what is critical to consider when designing the initial program. Thank you. We have a question that came in through chat from one of our attendees, and this is sort of regarding an experience with Zoom AI. So I'll read the full question for you, Tyler. Regarding meeting recaps, and we used one of these as a use case. This attendee has used Zoom AI recently, and they find that there are multiple errors and discrepancies in the recaps, such as conversations being attributed to different people in the meeting or data confusion. And so the attendee notes, while we always want to check the information, the question is, do you know, Tyler, can you speak to the accuracy rate of Copilot in meeting recaps and in document creation and items of that nature?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I think, and I mentioned this earlier also, that you need to get very deliberate in your meetings to call out things that you want properly transcribed. So, Kate, after this meeting, you're going to send out a link to all attendees for this, and you'll do it by this date. So, being very deliberate in the next steps and actions helps it to be able to transcribe and set out what was agreed upon in those meetings. I don't know if because Teams, it's, you're licensed 365 users and it knows the identity of people better. It also will know people's roles. So it will know, what my role is in the organization, Kate's and everybody else, because that is part of, our user profile. So it's able to maybe leverage some of that information to help with accuracy and help in understanding kind of, how roles come together and stuff. Having said all of that, Copilot is far from perfect in being able to pull together, accurate information in every single instance. You need to make sure you do your own reviews of it, correct it wherever you find mistakes and stuff, and always give it that final set of eyes. In most cases, it's only as good as the data you're providing it. So assuming the data is very accurate, very clean, and it's not and it's consistent. If you're feeding it inconsistent information from multiple documents, it won't know how to reconcile those inconsistencies necessarily. So that can cause some discrepancies in what you're seeing. But the more you work with it, the more you see, how you can get the accuracy improved.
And one final question, Tyler, is Copilot secure enough for handling client data? Specifically, how do we prevent overexposure?
Yeah, it's again kind of going back to the three-phased approach that we take and analyzing the data. It's really important to understand all the areas of where you're storing data that Copilot has access to, and then being able to, classify who should have the access to those areas. So it can be as secure as we make it. And it's the same idea. I keep coming back to the file share example on a file server, that if you don't put the right permissions on a folder, people can access it. And what makes it even worse with Copilot is it's much faster and better at querying those data repositories. So it's able to find stuff a lot faster and more accurately and with less parameters. Whereas before, if you're searching for an email, remember Copilot can go in and search all of your historical email and stuff. It's very good if you just feed it a few parameters, even of like what was in the body of the email and kind of what you were speaking about. You don't have to remember who the email was from and the subject of it to query it. Now without Copilot, if you go into Outlook and start querying, it's unlikely you're finding an old email that you're trying to search on unless you know exactly the subject and who it was from and kind of a date range. I mean, feed something into Copilot and, it can go back as a decade worth of emails and find it right in the body, and it'll find it very quickly. So very powerful, but those are considerations you need to understand and take into fact when rolling it out.
Awesome. Tyler, thank you so much for your time today. This was a great conversation, great overview of AI and Copilot and use cases. I'd like to thank all of our attendees for joining us today, and please look for the recap in your inbox in the coming days. Thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.